Seriously, who let me do this? It's crackling because there's lollies in there too, I won't lie. Oh, my stomach is growling, I'm so hungry. Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. So this is a video that was not at all planned. I did not plan to buy books in Australia and I did not plan to buy enough books that I would need to create a book haul video. Alas, the best laid plans go awry. I bought 14 books and ended up spending about $150, which is way more than I needed. So this is my book haul. I will admit that a lot of these are books where I liked the first one in the series and so I'm buying the next one or the next two because I want to keep reading it. I'm justifying my decisions in the hope that I'm going to actually enjoy these books. I'm like, you know what? I'm allowed to buy these because I'm definitely going to enjoy them. So the first one where that is definitely the case is Love on the Brain by Hazelwood. I actually read, what's the first book in this series called? Oh, okay, there's a sticker right on the front. I read Love Hypothesis in Norway and I generally enjoyed it. There was a few issues that I had with it where I felt like it was just too much trying to pack into a book. The conflict that happened towards the end didn't need to be there, but I appreciated what it was trying to do, so I'm excited to pick up the sequel. So as for what this is about, it follows B. Konigvasser, who lives by simple code. What would Marie Curie do? It says, if NASA offered her the lead on a neuroengineering project, a literal dream come true, Marie would accept without hesitation. But Marie Curie never had to co-lead with a man named Levi Ward. So this is definitely a sort of enemies to lovers situation, or definitely rival academics kind of situation. So Levi is tall, dark, attractive, handsome, everything she would want physically. But he's made his feelings towards B very clear in grad school. He does not like her. But soon enough, B's equipment starts to go missing. The staff start to sort of isolate her and ostracize her. And all of a sudden, Levi sort of starts softening into a bit of an ally and their relationship definitely changes. He starts backing her plays, seconding her ideas, and suddenly those piercing eyes start looking very deeply at her. So she has to ask herself, what would B. Konigvasser do? So this sounds very interesting. If it's anything like the Love Hypothesis, it's going to be fun and smutty and angsty and dramatic, and I'm totally here for that, so keen to read this. Next up, I had to pick up the sequels to Scythe by Neal Shusterman, so I grabbed Thunderhead and The Toll. I unexpectedly loved Scythe. It was actually on my books little like self-destruct list and I didn't expect to enjoy it, but I ended up loving it. So now I'm here with the rest of the books in the trilogy. Obviously Gleanings has just come out as well, but I think that's more of a novella or a companion novel. Scythe basically follows Citra and Rowan, who live in a world that has defeated death. And as a result of that, the Scythedom has been created, which is the only way a person can die. So it's people who are dedicated to randomly selecting people to die. Citra and Rowan have their own experiences with a scythe by the name of Scythe Faraday, and then they are recruited by him to become apprentice scythes, and so they start to help him, and then soon enough they are pitched against each other and given the choice where one of them has to kill the other. After a mysterious disappearance of Scythe Faraday, they are then split up and these characters develop in completely different and very, very interesting ways based on who their new mentor is and who they are the apprentice for. And I think that book was just so fascinating in that way that it discussed this dystopia and how these two characters definitely started in the same place growing up, and you get to see sort of where they came from and the opinions that they had about the Scythedom, and then completely changed based on who their mentor was. So anyway, I really enjoyed Scythe. I'm really keen to get to the rest of the series. You can see how much I pay for them at the top there. And yeah, maybe I'll do a vlog or something where I read the rest of these, I don't know. Next up is a new release, which is Carrie, Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Absolutely love that book. Haven't read Malibu Rising or Daisy Jones and the Six yet, but they are definitely on my list. And of course, I had to pick this one up when I saw it in store, so I of course grabbed it. As for what it's about, it says, Carrie Soto is fierce and her determination to win at any cost has not made her popular. But by the time she retires from tennis, she is the best player the world has ever seen. She has shattered every record and claimed 20 slam titles. And if you ask Carrie, she is entitled to every one. She sacrificed nearly everything to become the best, with her father as her coach. Javier, a former champion himself, has trained her since the age of 2. But 6 years after her retirement, Carrie finds herself sitting in the stands of the 1994 US Open, watching her record being taken from her by a brutal, stunning British player named Nikki Chan. At 37 years old, Carrie makes the monumental decision to come out of retirement and be coached by her father for one last year in an attempt to reclaim her record, even if the sports media say that they never liked the battle axe anyway, even if her body doesn't move as fast as it did, and even if it means swallowing her pride to train with the man she once almost opened her heart to, Bo Huntley. Like her, he has something to prove before he gives up the game forever. In spite of it all, Carrie Soto is back for one epic final season. I think this is going to be really, really fun and interesting about just reclaiming your sport, reclaiming your history, and reclaiming your successes, and just fighting against everything that's telling you can't do it. So I'm hoping this is going to be a fun read. Plus, I just absolutely love that cover. I mean, I think it is so dynamic and beautiful, and the colors on it just merge perfectly. I'm not usually a sports reader, but this might change me. And in that strain, of course, I had to pick up Daisy Jones and the Six as well, because this is one of those Taylor Jenkins Reid books where I hear people talk about this one and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo the most. So I've read Seven Husbands, and so now I have to read Daisy Jones and the Six. So it follows Daisy Jones and the Six, who are a band who were around in the 70s, I believe, and they were the sound that defined an era. Until they tumultuously split up in this blaze of glory on the 12th of July 1979, when Daisy Jones walked barefoot onto the stage at the Whiskey, and it all came crashing down. So everyone remembers that, everyone remembers what happened, but everybody remembers it differently to, of course, Daisy Jones. And she's here to tell you the true story of why the band actually split up, and I am so intrigued. Next up is a series where the last book, I think it is, has just come out, so I kind of figured why not buy them all in one, but then I'm annoyed at myself that I did buy them all in one, because 3 books are the same size and 1 book is not, and that is the Gild series by Raven Kennedy. I believe this is a King Midas retelling, and I know that people like Becca and the Books and various other booktubers, I'll link them down below, have loved this series, and so I just want to know what all the hype is about. I'm gonna put the books down and just hold up Gild, which is the first one in the series. It follows the story of King Midas, the Golden King who lives in a palace of riches where he's turned everything to gold, including this girl, where everything about her is gold except I think for her eyes. And she's locked away in Highbell Castle, away from the dangers of the world below. No one can get in apart from King Midas. He rescued her from the streets, gave her food, shelter, and his heart promised to love him forever. But then war comes to the kingdom, a deal is struck, and she is at the heart of the bargain. This is the story of Oren, and apparently it's sort of a somewhat complicated fantasy romance. It's not quite what you'd expect, especially at the beginning. So I'm looking forward to finding out a bit more what everybody's been talking about, and loving this series hopefully, because I bought all 4. So next up, I had to pick up this book because I saw Beth over at Books Nest attend the author signing for it, and the author is one of my favorite sort of figures in musical theatre, and that is Carrie Fletcher. So I picked up With This Kiss, and this story just sounds really interesting to me. It's about a girl who every time she kisses someone, she can see how they're going to die. So obviously she lives her entire life trying to avoid people, avoid romantic entanglements, until she meets a guy named Grayson. And for the first time in years, she is just yearning to be kissed because of this man. But she is dealing with that dilemma of, I want to be with this man, but also if I do, I'm gonna find out how it's all going to end. So, you know, do you get into a relationship when you know how it's going to end? And I'm honestly thoroughly intrigued by what this is going to turn into, and I love Carrie Fletcher as a performer, so hopefully I'll love her as an author too. So this is the last book that I bought as like the next in a series kind of thing, and it is Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I haven't actually read the first book, which I think is called The Fine Print, and it basically follows these billionaire brothers who own a theme park, I think, called the Dreamland. This one follows Declan, who is set to be the next CEO of his family's empire, except there's one major problem, which is an inheritance clause, which means he has to get married and have an heir before he can claim this inheritance. Then one day, in a sort of fake dating situation, his assistant volunteers for the job. They have to pretend that they're in love. Iris is obviously thinking, you know, my plan to marry him was simple. It's going to be moving together, throw a wedding, have a baby, and be set for life with this man. But then it says, what happens when our fake relationship bleeds into our real one? Falling in love was never an option, at least not for me. So I'm really intrigued by this one, definitely. And obviously I think this month's going to be pretty good too, which is never a bad thing. So I bought this book knowing full well that 1, I think this is one of the more controversial works by this author, and 2, I haven't actually read the first book that I own by her yet, so I don't know why I picked up another one. But it is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I saw that India over at What India Reads really loves Colleen Hoover. She said I should maybe give this one a try before I read It Ends With Us. It follows Fallon and Ben. Ben is an aspiring novelist, and Fallon is about to move across the country, and they bump into each other and decide to spend Fallon's last day in LA together, and it is November 9th. They then make a pact, and it becomes this sort of inspiration for Ben's next novel to meet every year on November 9. So over time and amidst the various relationships and tribulations of their own separate lives, they continue to meet on the same date every year until one day Fallon becomes unsure if Ben has been telling her the truth or fabricating a perfect reality for the sake of the ultimate plot twist. I think there is some controversy around this story that I don't know fully what the details of that are, but I'll be interested to find out and give you my thoughts on what it is. So the last two are some romances. So first we've got Christina Lauren's Something Wilder. Now this is written by an author duo that I love. I've read The Unhoneymooners, I've read The Soulmate Equation, loved both of those books so much, so of course I had to pick up this one as well. It follows Lily, who's never forgotten the man that got away and certainly has never forgiven him either. She's the daughter of a notorious treasure hunter, and she makes ends meet using her father's coveted hand-drawn maps, guiding tourists on fake treasure hunts through the canyons of Utah. And then the man that got away walks back into her life, Leo, and frankly she'd like nothing more than to take him into the wilderness and leave him there. But he wants nothing more than to reconnect with her, and Lily is set on that never happening. But then a trip goes horribly and hilariously wrong. The group wonders if maybe the legend of the hidden treasure wasn't a gimmick after all, and alone under the stars, Leo and Lily must decide whether they'll risk their lives and their hearts on the adventure of a lifetime. So sounds fun, sounds like a nice sort of summery setting as well, which maybe I'll read this while I'm in Australia, so it gives me that summer vibes. But yeah, this is the second last book that I bought. And then we've got the last one, which I only bought because I've literally been seeing it every single time I go into a bookshop. I'm like, it's gotta be fate at this point. And that is The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. So 1 car, 5 people, a whole lot of history. As for what it's about, it says Addie and her sister are on an epic road trip to a friend's wedding in rural Scotland. Oh, I'm going to Scotland in November. Maybe I'll read that then. That could be a really nice like thematic thing. But not long after setting off, a car slams into theirs. The driver is none other than Addie's ex, who she hasn't seen since their traumatic breakup 2 years earlier. Dylan and his best mate are heading to the wedding too, so Addie has no choice but to offer them a ride. And with 400 miles to go, they can't avoid confronting the very messy history of their relationship. Will they make it to the wedding? And more importantly, is this really the end of the road for Addie and Dylan? So a nice little exes, second chance romance sort of thing. Forced proximity, definitely, because they're stuck in this car together and rehashing everything that they went through, which I feel like is going to be super angsty, which I'm hoping for. So yeah, this is the last book. It was probably a horrible idea to pick these up, but these are the 14 books that oh no, there's 2 more. Oh bloody hell. God, why did that get like 2 kilos heavier with 2 books? But these are the 14 books that I've read recently. I meant bought, but I'm not going to pick these up again and try and do that again. So those are the 14 books that I've bought recently, not read recently. And there's a good mixture in there of fantasy, dystopia, romance, you know, contemporary, a few other bits and bobs. They're all books that I've either been massively anticipating or books that I've just constantly been seeing, and so figured I may as well pick them up. Now I've got the fun job of figuring out how I'm going to get them from Australia to the UK without going over my baggage allowance, because that is a heavy stack. So I guess you will find out in my Australia vlog how that went whenever that goes up. Do check that out if you get a chance. But as for this, let me know down below if you've bought any books recently, if you've read any of these books, if you've treated yourself, what your thoughts are on these books, all those sorts of things. Come and chat to me in the comments down below. I do love to chat to you guys, and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really hope that you liked this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It is a super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!